Hi everyone. So we're Wednesday, June 8th. I'm still walking for the virtual Spirit Walk, and this is my 7th walk. There's a date that I didn't walk a couple days ago because I got overwhelmed with things to do, and by the end of the day I was too tired. And so it's my 7th walk in 8 days, and it's my 6th video, because I didn't make a video the day that I didn't walk, and there's a day that I walked but made no video. So speaking of numbers, remember, this is a fundraiser for the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal, and they're looking at trying to raise $60,000 this year in particular for 2 very important projects. You can find, you're going to see the donation page. If you see this, you'll see a donation page attached, and there's more explanation on there in their words. But basically, the 2 main things are second stage housing for the people who use their center. So to go kind of beyond that initial help for people living in precarious situations, but then to offer kind of continued support. And they want to build a place with 23 units that could accommodate women who are on their own, but also women who have kids. So that would be really excellent. And the other project they're fundraising for is pediatric center for Indigenous kids, and that's also really important because access to medical care is important, but also medical care that's respectful and culturally competent. So that's what's going on. And so like I said, the fundraising goal in total for them is $60,000, and yesterday in a Facebook post I mentioned, they're only a third of the way there, but today I checked earlier today and they're over 30,000, so more than halfway. So that's really awesome. So let's give that last push. Campaign's going on until the 11th, so I encourage you to either join as a walker or roller, because you can also do this on your bike, rollerblades or whatever, and you can join the in-person walk on Saturday, June 11th on Mount Royal, and there's more information again on that on the donation page. Or donate, or if you want to be a walker but you can't make it that day, you can do it on your own. And as I've mentioned a couple times, you can just take one walk or one bike ride at any time between now and the 11th. It doesn't have to be a daily thing like I'm doing. So yeah, and if you can't join for, people have all kinds of legit reasons, then please donate. So you don't want to donate through my page, go to the main page. You can scroll to the bottom of my page and click on theirs, donate directly. If you don't want to be associated with me, or if you know someone else is walking, and also encourage, if you can't, because I know not everybody is having a good time financially right now, just please share in your networks and encourage people to donate and refer them to the page. You can copy paste from the donation page to explain what's happening with these funds. Why do you think it's important? And remind people, people either have inherited wealth or disposable income. If people spend almost $20 to see a movie now, well, can they spare 20 to help make people's lives better, especially those of us who are benefiting from colonialism? Anyway, I've said this all before, and there are ways to say this without necessarily making people feel guilty, but still kind of what's the word I'm looking, sensitizing people. So anyway, please do that last push, get them over the $60,000 mark. I've thanks to a bunch of you, I surpassed my first goal of 1,000. I raised the goal to 2,000, and now I'm just above 2,000. It's like almost 2,200, and it's kind of stagnating now. So I was considering raising the goal to 2,500. Should I? Let me know in the comments. So today, what I'm it's going to be a short one today. Yesterday, I made the French version of today's video, and obviously with some changed numbers because things have changed. But what I was talking about in yesterday's video in French is the urban Indigenous community and how vibrant it is, and how there's so much going on, so many organizations. And I remember this conversation, like an online conversation, must have been almost 10 years ago, and it was one of those things where, a Facebook friend of mine posted something. I don't even remember what the original post was now, but a friend of his commented on, made this kind of comment, and it wasn't like super derogatory, but just it was really misled, and something about how, well, of course we don't know anything about Indigenous people, like we don't see them anywhere in the city, they're invisible. And I responded like, no, actually there's a lot going on, and just boom, like that, I was able to name like almost 10 organizations, whether they were organizations that serve the Indigenous community or artistic groups or just all kinds of things, and then other kind of well-known personalities, the movers and the shakers, people doing really awesome stuff. And this is almost 10 years ago. There's even more now. So and something came up at a work meeting today, because I was meeting with some colleagues who, like me, are involved in the work of decolonizing the college system, college education. And one thing that came up, and it came up a couple times actually this week, is that often people, I'll talk to people about different ideas and stuff, and then sometimes people want to know more, and they'll say, oh, do you have a link, or an article, is there an article where I can learn more about that? And then sometimes I'm like, it's really hard for me to find things like that, because a lot of the knowledge I've been exposed to over the years has been through community involvement. And, I had the extraordinary, life-changing experience of living in Chassebi, Quebec. It's an Inuit Cree territory on the eastern James Bay coast. And, I spent different periods of time there. One of those was a full year doing my doctoral research, and I got to know people, and I became friends with people who shared stuff with me. I was in ceremony, and then here in the urban community, I've been involved in different ways. I've helped with the Montreal Powwow a few years. I've participated in groups that met up for talking circles. I've, been in sweat lodges, and, there are a couple of different communities that I've been involved with quite closely. And so when I think about some of the ideas sometimes, some of the knowledge that I've had access to, a huge chunk of it comes from that. It's not stuff I learned in university or from academic articles. And, there are academic articles by Indigenous people that have been really helpful as well, and blogs and documentaries and all kinds of stuff like that. But really, so much of perspective that I have about just ways of being have been through direct contact. And a lot of my colleagues haven't had that immersion. And so that kind of occurred to me in terms of like, so I've been encouraging people, go to things. And yeah, I guess I get that it's intimidating sometimes to go to a place, like if you're not going to know anybody or you feel like you might be intruding. But if you keep going to things and you're persistent, You get to know people and get involved in things. When there are calls for volunteers for different things, you get to know some really cool people. And that's when you start to, and it's not like people are going to just start teaching you, oh, welcome, we're going to teach you things. It's more like through casual conversation, just being with people. A lot of communication doesn't happen through, direct instruction, right? And so it's this really beautiful unfolding as you kind of participate in community, that you get to kind of experience different ways of being and different ways of communicating, and just it's really life-changing. So I encourage people to do that. If you want information on how to, where to go, what to do in the city, if you're in Montreal, Tiohtià:ke, Muniang, there's a Google Calendar that I created many years ago that I can share with you, and you can just look at it and add things to your own calendar. And there's all kinds of events, and in particular, I want to, send a shout out to the Indigenous artistic community. And here I mean like all arts, so music, dance, film, visual arts, all of it. And you can go to events and also workshops where people give presentations on different things, and just there's so much to learn there. And on top of that, you're having fun at the same time. You don't feel like you're sitting there reading, doing homework. So I really encourage people to do that. Like I said, there are often calls for volunteers. The Resilience Montreal is kind of it's not really a shelter, but it's a, the homeless folks in the Cabot Square area can get a warm meal there and some clothes. And so that's, a great place to go and volunteer. An hour or two, a couple hours a week, you can go, and they always need help in the kitchen. You don't have to be skills. Even I was able to help out, even though I wound up cutting myself. And anyway, they'll put you to work. They'll give you things to do. And, there's often other calls for volunteers for different events. So I guess that's all I wanted to say today. And how is that linked to the fundraiser? Well, again, the more informed you are and the more involved you are, the better able you are to share that knowledge. And also you're supporting like local art, like Indigenous theater companies, encouraging them financially obviously is a good thing. People are trying to make a living through their art, and so supporting artists is always a wonderful thing. And if you go to a powwow and you buy some crafts or art, you don't try to negotiate them down. Like, these things take so much skill and so much time. It's really shitty to try to bargain with artisans and artists. So there you go. Get involved. And that work also supports community healing. And when we think about services of organizations like the Native Women's Shelter and all other organizations, a lot of it is about healing collective trauma that comes from centuries of colonization that is ongoing, by the way. So people are still being traumatized and hurt and sometimes killed by that. So all forms of artistic expression are things that are healing. And so supporting local artistic ventures in Indigenous communities is a good thing, as is supporting all these other initiatives and organizations. So that's it for today. Keep spreading the word, encourage your peeps to donate, and I'll catch you tomorrow.